Welcome back to Tiny Grimes Games, and I'm here with another Star Wars Destiny video. And today is a huge, exciting, fun day. That's right, FFG announced a whole bunch of spoilers. We're getting pretty close to that April 1st date where we're going to know the whole set. So we all knew this was coming, and boy, it's exciting that it's here. This is a yellow spoiler set, mostly hero cards or neutral cards, and there were some really interesting and some frankly insane cards. So let's go through these. I think the most exciting one is Maz Kanata, and it's mainly because now with Maz, you're able to do all kinds of interesting things because of her cost point. She's basically the Balatik cost point of 811, so now you can do exciting things like Poe Maz, and you have a 4-die setup, whereas before Poe couldn't really combo with anyone to get 4 dice out. So that is really exciting, and I think we're going to see a lot more really exciting combos, both with the 8 to get into tricolor decks that do interesting things, but that 11 is going to be what's really exciting. And she has 8 health, so it's low, but that's not that surprising. Her dice are interesting. They're not amazing, but her ability is nuts. Like, that ability is really strong. I'm thinking about just interesting things. I'm sure there's going to be all kinds of cool stuff you can do with her ability. But let's say you do something like you have her with Rey, and you have a bunch of dice on the board, and you can do something like Comlink, roll your own dice, and then just resolve or just activate Maz, which allows you then to resolve some of those dice. Like, they can be different types, right? And that's what's so crazy about her. And you can do it after you activate her as well. I don't know. This just seems crazy to me. Like, you have a jetpack already out there. Let's say you're doing Han Maz, and you have a +3 jetpack that's not doing anything. You roll Maz, you hit her 1 damage, and you get to resolve both of those dice. I'm sure we're gonna have all kinds of insane ways to abuse her. She feels like she is crazy good. That ability seems so strong. The only reason it's not as strong as it could be is because her dice are inherently weak. But that's okay, right? You just put the jetpacks on her. You put all kinds of stuff on her. I mean, you activate this character and you resolve up to 2 dice. It's basically the Jango Fett ability light without having to have your opponent roll. You don't have to wait for your opponent to react. It's crazy good. I'm really excited to see this card in action. I think she's going to be fantastic. Like, she's just fantastic. Yeah, I mean, like, she is amazing. If I want to say something crazy like she's the best card in the set, clearly, but we've seen so many amazing cards. It just lets me know that Spirit of Rebellion's power level is probably higher than Awakenings, which is not surprising. All right, we'll move on. She's amazing. Her ability is insane, especially for that cost. I can't get by that. It's like Jango's ability at an 811? What? Deep breath. Let's move on. All right. We have another character. We have Chewbacca. Not quite as exciting, but still skilled and talented. He's got 12 health, so we haven't seen a lot of 12 health characters. They've all had expensive costs. He's only 1216 for 12 health. This is a new ratio we haven't seen yet, so that's really exciting. You can still pair him with exciting combinations. Like, for instance, you could go a single die Chewie, double die Poe. That is 24 health. That's not too bad. His dice are really interesting. His non-special sides are fine. Like, it's a 2, 2, and a 1 is good. The problem is they're mixed damage, so that's always a little bit frustrating with weapons. If you can find a deck where you're playing him without weapons, it's fine. But his special is really interesting. Turn opponent's die to a side showing damage to deal that damage to a character. So what's going to be best case scenario, right, is like Vader rolls out a blank, Chewie rolls his special, Vader is worried, He only has 3 health left. On Chewbacca's next action, he gets to flip Vader's die to a 3 to kill Vader. Now, the trouble with this die is if it doesn't kill the person, then they get to use that damage. And so then it's like, I don't know, is it good? It's weird. Where it will be amazing are like the control blue dice that have the 1 ranged on it, right? So it's like, okay, you rolled your force throw special. That's cool, but I have Chewie special already rolled. So I'm going to use Chewie special to turn the force throw to a range damage and do a damage to that character. So it's going to be a really interesting card where it could function in a control way. It can function in a really aggressive way, especially if we see really big sides like 4s and 5s on characters. That could just be, he could really be the counter to those kind of cards, being able to just instantly kill them if they get anywhere close. They can't roll out now. So Chewbacca is going to be really interesting. We need to wait to see what the rest of the set looks like. 12-16 for 12 though. This guy might see a lot of play. He's real interesting to say the least. Unfortunately, he doesn't pair that well with Han. You can't go double Chewie, double Han, and that's not that surprising. What is good though is you can go single die Chewie, double die Han. So at least we have that. He pairs really well with stuff like maybe Poe. Sorry, not Poe. Rey could work. Maz. I mean, geez. Maz, you could do 1 die of each of these and have 10 left. I don't even know where to go with numbers because there's so many new combinations. All I can say is he's going to be interesting. He could be really good. He could be a little bit underwhelming. We'll have to see. We also got his Bowcaster. Now, without seeing the cost of the Bowcaster, this thing is freaking crazy. Redeploy. Okay, cool. A yellow weapon that they don't have yet. Stick this in a Han Rey deck. Oh my goodness, it has redeploy. The sides are crazy. 2, 4, plus 3. A 2 disrupt. A really boring special. Deal 1 unblockable. It's up to 2 different characters. Like for the other sides on this one, that's the kind of I guess whatever. I'll do that one. But a lot of damage. But then when you look at the 4 cost and you start to go, what cards do I play that cost 4? It's like Mind Probe, but I rarely pay for it, right? It's only because I can cheat it out with Alacran. So we'll have to see what the resources look like. But in Awakenings, I'm not sure this card would see play. It might. It might just simply for the fact that you could do something like play the DL44 that costs 3 1 turn, and then the next turn you would overwrite it with a Bowcaster. But the problem with those kind of cards is, while it can work really well, they're problematic when you draw them early. You know, you get stuck with them early, and you're going, I mean, okay, now I have to discard it. It's basically a dead card. I have X amount of weapons, and this weapon doesn't really count in that X because I can't play it early. So I'm really interested to see where this card goes. It could be really great, and it could be a card that we kind of look at and go, I mean, it's good and all, but it's so expensive. I tend to lean towards that's what's going to end up happening with it. Another interesting card is the Long Con, or just Long Con. Really cool shot of Han Solo there. Gain 3 resources if there's another copy of this event in your discard pile. So it really is a Long Con. It's very interesting. Oftentimes resources are incredibly valuable early, right? Just so valuable because you want to get out those upgrades, have more dice than your opponents, and when you get to the end of the game, they're a little bit less valuable unless you have some sort of end game stuff that you're doing. Second chance stacks don't mind getting resources at the end of the game. Maybe you're building to a Falcon mid game where this can be useful. It really is a late game card. Sometimes you're just going to get lucky and get 2 of these in your opening hand. You discard 1 for a reroll and then go, boom, 3 resources. And the world explodes and is the greatest card that ever existed. But I think usually you're going to see these resources in the mid game and the late game. I know I'll try the card for sure. It has the potential to be really good, and we'll just have to kind of see. I mean, remember, when you're thinking about playing one of these cards that are spoiled in an Awakenings deck, there's a lot more deck slots in an Awakenings deck than there will be with 2 full sets. It's going to be hard to make these tiny 30 card decks. It's going to be hard to crack these decks. So we'll see if Long Con can crack it. Certainly has a big upside. Next is going to be Fair Trade. This is one of the weirder cards in the set. If it just said 0, swap all of your resources with an opponent's resources, that would be amazing, right? It'd be totally broken. But it has this really cool caveat of you have to, A, get rid of one of your dice. It has to be a resource. That's limiting. So you have to draw it at the perfect time. And then when you do the switch, your opponent's going to minimum have a 1. So there aren't a lot of decks that save up tons of resources. So I'd say usually it's going to be like a 1-3, 1-2 swap, which could be devastating at the right moment. My gut tells me it is way too situational for a normal deck. Now, there may be choke decks that emerge that would be really great in. If late game decks emerge as being really viable, or a lot of like I'm saving for a Falcon or I'm saving for Crime Lord effects, then this card becomes really good. I love the design of it. I love having a card like this in the game. So you're never really sure. Am I safe to just save? I don't know. What if they have fair trade? I think it's terrible, but what if they have it? So it's a great card to have in the game. I'm not sure that it'll have any impact at all. I guess we'll have to see. Lone Operative is flat good. It is just flat good. 3 costs is a lot for an upgrade. We're looking at stuff like Force Throw, Second Chance, the rifle, that's okay, the red rifle. So 3 is expensive, but boy, healing may be the best effect in the game. And this thing heals 2 early game, 3 late game. Holy cow. I mean, on a character with enough health, imagine also a second chance on this character. It's going to be really hard to kill this character. That's 2 specials. If you're able to heal 3 every turn and put a shield or 2 on and have second chance, query, how do you ever kill said character? I mean, frankly, it's so good, I'm a little bit worried about it. It's a very interesting card. We have seen a lot more damage being outputted in the set, and that may sort of be the balancing factor for this card, that if the damage output is ramped up to a point where 2 to 3 heal isn't as big, that might be okay. But just imagine putting this out early. I mean, this seems really good. It has the 2 mill side, a 2 melee side, so it fits into even more decks. I mean, this actually, the more I think about it, this may be the card that mill decks need to function, right? So mill decks always have this problem of they get close, right? They get close, but then they die. And being able to heal every single turn, I don't know. I'm really excited about this card. Again, this feels like a very, very good card that's going to make a lot of decks, and people will be excited to get it. Maz's Castle. I'm going to be honest. I don't know what is going on with this. I can't think of a deck that you would possibly dream of playing this in. I guess that's not true, actually. Maybe this is the ultimate benign battlefield, right? A lot of people play Mos Eisley Spaceport, but it's not as that benign. If you're not running Alacrans, your opponent gets to throw stuff back in their hand and make money, and it can be really annoying. And they can, if a character's about to die that you're about to kill, they can save that upgrade from going away. So maybe this is the ultimate in the benign battlefield, but maybe there's a deck that really wants to see more cards. A combo deck might really like something like this, where you're just drawing more and more cards, and it's not cards you have to discard, but you just see more. That's possible that's going to be good. Maybe some Holocron deck that's running like Holocron and all force powers. Like, listen, I just want the dang Holocron. I will literally do anything for that Holocron, including play this battlefield. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. We'll see if there's some deck that really exploits it. Okay. Planned Explosion, I don't like. I'm just going to say that. It scares me. I was hoping Palpatine decks were going to be real and legit, and this card makes my head spin really fast and say, I don't know if Palpatine decks are legit. If people play this card, which I tend to think they will, oh goodness. What's really cool about this card is, so you get to the end game, and you're rolling 5 dice, and your opponent's rolling 5 dice, right? Your opponent rolls 5 dice, and they all come up good. You roll 5 dice, and it's like 2 disrupts, a +2 melee, another +2 melee, a resource. What are we at? 7? Oh, it's going to be hard to get to 10. with just one character. I don't know. We get to 10 somehow. A 3 with a resource, I guess we'll say. Which actually sounds really good because something that's 7 melee. But I think what it does is it gives you a chance to more easily turn your bad or your mediocre rolls at least and make them suddenly turn into god rolls with a 10 or more. I'll really have to do the math on this. So I was thinking it was pretty easy. But if you're only rolling 5 dice, they have to average 2. So if there's any blanks in there, that really pumps up the average of the other ones. And for, let's say there's 2 1s, you need 8 damage out of 3 dice. That's like a 3, a 3, and a 2. A 3, 3, a 2, a 1, and a 1 is already a pretty good roll. Maybe I'm making too big of a deal out of Plant Explosion. Maybe it is perfect. Maybe that number 10 is actually perfectly balanced. I really want to see this one in action as we see more cards from the set. It worries me, though. Any card that can do 10 damage reliably is really terrifying. I'm just hoping that it can't. I'm just hoping that this thing will not be able to do 10 damage reliably because that's too much. But we'll see. It sounds really interesting. All right, Diversion. This is a really interesting card, especially with the other card we were talking about earlier that stripped resources. Does this position yellow as the resource stripping faction? Forcing an opponent to lose a resource for a resource might not sound good, but I mean, there's a lot of spots where that could be very, very useful. If you're a deck that pumps out a lot of resources and they're not, it could be good. If they have exactly 2 and you're pretty sure they want to play that jetpack or whatever and you can pull one away, that's really good. And if there's already this card in the discard pile, let's say you just discard it to reroll, paying 1 to yank all of your opponent's resources when they have a lot, because 3 is quite a bit, that seems solid to me. Again, I don't know if this will make a deck. I have a feeling it does not make regular decks because, like I said, there's so many cards. Oh my goodness, trying to build a deck is going to be much harder. But it certainly is going to fit in some archetype. Some archetype is going to use this idea of putting together a bunch of econ, either an econ, like a dedicated econ stripping deck, or just a dedicated, I'm going to annoy you, right? Like every time you think you're set up, you're not. And you need to always be worried about that. That could be a really strong archetype. All right, so that's it for the spoilers for today. We had some really cool stuff. Maz. Holy Toledo. She is so good. I'm really excited to see where this goes. I mean, it's just so interesting. Think about this scenario. So you rolled out your force throw special. They roll out their stuff, right? And you're gonna trigger the force throw special. They got something decent. But you also could kill them if you could also resolve the 3 on your lightsaber. You just roll Maz and do force throw for 3, lightsaber for 3 more. That's 6 dead. This just seems really good. I can't tell if it's worse or better than Django. I think it's worse because Django can do these things where you put 3 weapons on him, he can just roll 12 damage with no repercussions whatsoever. This is more of a, you can't do quite as much if you're just doing 2 dice on Maz, and if your dice are sitting there already, they can mess with them. So I think she's worse than Django, but she's a flexible character, and for 811, holy cow, that is a hard one to get by. You could just play one of her, just 1 for 8 to get the sick ability. Ugh, okay, well, hopefully you enjoyed that video, and I look forward to more spoilers. What do you think? What do you think's the most? What's your favorite spoiler that you've seen? What's the most powerful one? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you next time on Tiny Grimes Games.